7.
Dude. Craft Brews and Casual Conversations, Tunes with Brews. It's back, and we are with a very special guest, the host of High Anxiety Radio, a punk rock connoisseur, an overall swell fella. His name is Joel. Hello, Joel.
Hey, Drew. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you've been on the show before, where we just talked a little bit about punk rock. We talked about your radio show, and we'll touch on all that good stuff. But today we're talking about specific records that we enjoy. One from me, one from you. But of course, it is Dudes with Brews, so we do, or at least on this side of the microphone, we like to indulge in a beverage during the episode. So I am drinking from Potosi Brewing Company. So this is a Wisconsin beer, Joel. It is called, it is just the Tangerine IPA. So as you can imagine, it has tangerine juice and a lot of hops to get a refreshing and cleanly hopped experience. Potosi Brewing Company is a non-profit brewery in Wisconsin. So they don't make any profits. They just they all the profits they make, they donate to charity. So that's a pretty cool brewery.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
I've had.
Do you know where they're? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you know where they're based out of?
Potosi, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I don't know where Potosi is.
Neither do I.
It's somewhere in the great state of Wisconsin. But yeah, I thought that was. I mean, I think that's pretty cool that. They don't make any money. They just make the stuff. It looks like it's in like southwestern Wisconsin, almost on like the bottom left of the state. So yeah, pretty cool. It's got the National Brewery Museum is there, which is fancy. But yeah, so it's an IPA, 55 on the IBUs, 6.5 ABV. It's got a very good. I mean, it's got that orange hue to it. It smells great, and it's got like it's not an overpowering citrus to it, but it's got the good blend of the IPAs with the orange. I'm a big citrus guy, so this is a pretty good a beer of choice. I don't know. I don't think it's been on the show before. It wasn't on my Untapped app, so I know I've had it before, but never on the show. I don't think. Maybe. Who knows?
It looks great. Like the color.
Mm-hmm.
How's the aftertaste to that? Is the aftertaste?
It's good, yeah. It has that. You can definitely taste like the tangerine, but it's not like it doesn't taste artificial, and it doesn't like overpower the greatness of the IPA. So it's a good blend. Joel, you're not much of a drinker. You haven't drank in quite some time, right?
It's going on 4 years in November. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is, and all through COVID, I wasn't drinking, so that was quite difficult, Mm-hmm. But I still have cravings to do it. But right now, I'm just kind of gonna continue being sober for a while.
Yeah, no, it's not always. It's not always a bad thing. That's no, it's good, healthy for you. So good.
Yeah, I had plenty of years of drinking. Now it's just sobering up for a few.
Yeah. Absolutely. But we're here to talk about some records. So do you want me to go first, Joel, or did you want to talk about yours first?
Why don't you go first?
All right. So I picked No Trigger's 2022 album, Doctor album. That was their first release, or I guess kind of their second release on Red Scare, which is one of my favorite record labels of all time. 13 songs, 34 minutes, 35 seconds. It's after, so they had an EP called Acid Lord that featured 2 songs that are on the Doctor album, and then I think it was 2 songs that are just strictly on the EP. So you kind of got a taste of what Doctor album was going to be with those 4 songs. I first discovered No Trigger a while back when I was doing a show called Drew's Punk Rock Power Hour, probably back 2017-ish, when I heard their EP Adult Braces, and it kind of had like this old, like this kind of old school hardcore sound, I would say, and like kind of like not what hardcore is now, but like I think what hardcore originally was. A lot of punk bands back in the day, like NoFX at one point was probably considered hardcore, I think, back in the day. And it was kind of a refreshing sound, and I loved it very much. The raspiness and the kind of like shouting, yelling of the vocals. And then you hear Acid Lord in 2022, so they only have three full length or four full length albums, I believe, something like that. And Doctor album is completely different than all of their other ones. It opens up with the song Anti Fantasy, which I know you've heard because I played it on your radio show. You maybe have heard it beforehand, but when I first listened to that, because that was a single of off Doctor album too, I was just like, this is different. This is way different than what they've put out before, which I had to get a little used to it, to be honest. I listened to Anti Fantasy the first time, and I'm like, what is going on? And then I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again, and then I just didn't stop listening to it. And then you kind of like you're listening to the lyrics, and I was just like, oh, I can kind of relate to this, unfortunately, because the song in itself is a little cartoony, but it really is a great way to kick off an album. And it's also featured on the Acid Lord EP, but it's not the opener. So Doctor album opens with Anti Fantasy, and they're talking about shitty people being in your community, kind of like these Nazi minded people doing dumb shit and being piles of crap. And unfortunately, we can kind of relate to that in the current city that we're in.
Yeah, we can, definitely. And we always could. I'm a little older than you, and growing up, that definitely was a stigma of the city.
Yeah.
People outside of the area would always bring up our Nazi issues and stuff.
Yeah. So,
and I just
go ahead.
With the song, I think this was just a great way to start off the album too.
Yeah, I always I'm a big time believer that like the opening track, on that A side, if you're listening to it on vinyl, has got to like somehow suck you in, because if it's not a good song, you're not gonna stay and listen to it. It doesn't have to be like fast. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be interesting enough where you want to keep listening. And I think this song is a perfect way of doing that. And then, I mean, all the songs on the record, and we'll get your opinions on it shortly. I think they all have something different to offer. They all have a different kind of feel, a different kind of sound, but also have some similarities between them. They flow well, because you go from Anti Fantasy to Take Your Time, and that song, like, it just like that's like the in your face kind of like opening punk scene and stuff like that. I love. I love that song, and I've listened to this record probably ad nauseum by now. I love it so much, and I listen to it a ton. The more I listen to it, like the more my favorite song changes. So originally, Anti Fantasy was one of my favorite songs, and then Take Your Time was my favorite one, and then it went to, I think, Too High to Die, No Tattoos, and it's just so good, and it's so fun that I really enjoy listening to it. And I don't really have a big like personal connection with this album. It came out less than a year ago. But I just, anytime I'm in the car and I'm feeling like to bump in some music, I throw this one on, and my kids get sick of hearing it because I play it so much. But they sing along with it too. And from my understanding, this record, in a sense, it's, they probably wanted to do something different than what they've done before, but they also, I guess, were under the influence of various substances while they created this record.
Yeah. Were they taking different drugs for each song?
I don't think so, but
okay. See, I thought that would be fascinating.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I come later on, when I talk about this album, I listened to it with earbuds today. I went for a walk, and I just heard so many different more levels than driving around listening to it like I have been.
Yeah. It's just a good record to listen to. It's really fun. And then it's like you just don't know where it's gonna go. So if you're listening to it the first time, like, you expect a ride, and then you almost have to listen to it 2 or 3 times to really get, I think, the full effect of the record, because it's not just like, it's not like like Grateful Dead shit where it's just like, yeah, we're tripping on acid, man, let's jam for 20 minutes and stuff like that. And I'm not a big fan of the jam bands and stuff like this, but yes, it has some aspects of doing some sort of substances, but I think all the lyrics are pretty meaningful, and they have a good,
Yeah.
uh, just a good way of presenting it, and it's super enjoyable. I like it a lot. So, did you? I guess how much of this had you heard prior to me telling you this was the album of choice?
Besides the song you played on my show a couple weeks ago, that was it, really.
Okay.
I did watch a little of their set back in October, November at Fest,
Okay.
and I have heard their earlier stuff. Not that much. I'm familiar with it, so this would have been my first time actually listening to it.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, let's get a little bit of your reaction to it. Do you have the same love for it as I do? Do you have any critiques? Because for me personally, like, ew, this is a pretty goddamn good album. Like, I don't have any complaints.
It was definitely a slow burn for me. At first, I listened to it. Um, Sometimes his singing is a little too poppy for my taste,
Sure.
but overall, the more I listened to it, the more I liked it.
Hmm.
Lyrically, just some of these songs are just phenomenal. I mean, just great.
Nice.
Like, yeah, just very well written. And then, like I said, when I put in my earbuds today and I was listening around, I'm like, there's so many layers to each song here. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and there was just so much I was picking up that I just wasn't noticing before.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like why I said you definitely have to listen to it a couple of times just to really get the full effect of the record. And I get with the singing part of it too, because when you first go into it, and I like I said, I had listened to Acid Lord, so I kind of knew like it was gonna be different than what they've previously released, and it's gonna like the singer definitely sings more than using that like kind of shouting, yelling that we're accustomed to. And I was like,
Correct.
at first I was just like, what's going on? Like where's No Trigger? But then I'm just like, nah, dude, this is it. I love it so much. It's just so fun. And I don't run as much as I used to, but this is a good one where like if I'm like just slugging along throughout a day, and I'm like I got to get my fat ass on a treadmill and do something, I'll throw this one on just to get pumped up. And um, yeah, it has like so many different rides to it. Like even uh like so you go anti-fantasy, take your time's a really like kind of punk sounding song. I would say it uses he sings in it, and then it goes to Acid Lord, which is just like a weird song in general. I've never done
That
Acid.
might be my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, it has some heavy
Yeah.
aspects to it for sure. And I know, yeah, you're definitely a heavier kind of listener. You listen to
Yeah. Yeah.
um and then I really like I like Coffee from a Microwave, a little like love song it seems like with the band Little Low. And then the one thing too that I've really grown over the years to appreciate bands that can harmonize really well.
Me too.
Anti-Flag is one of them. Bad Religion is one of them, and I think No Trigger is top notch harmonizing because you have like this background vocals. The dude's amazing at it, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, punk is supposed to be this edgy, this angry type of stuff or whatever. But you know what? It's okay to sound good too. It's okay to understand
Exactly.
how what's pleasing to the ear, and do some fucking harmonies. It's okay.
Exactly.
A lot of
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people have that opinion. I mean, Bad Religion's been doing it forever, so they've been onto it for some time now. And like I said, Anti-Flag 2 is like just the best at. Uh,
There's so many different styles, and you can just do whatever you want, basically.
right.
And it's good. Like we'll get into that later on with Off with Your Heads and stuff like
Oh
that,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
the album will be. Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of like the other things too that I really liked in this album is just like all the kind of just the weird stuff. Like there's always like some like scene before the song starts, or like there's just like um just like these little like tidbit conversation things, or
Yeah.
even like like Brainwashed has that too, where they just have like it's almost like people just talking in the background, but it's part of the song at the same time. And it's weird. Yeah, listen to it with headphones, I
Yeah,
guess.
like legitimately, I can't just believe how many layers there were. Like, I plan on just walking around more listening to this just to see what I missed previously.
Yeah,
It actually blew my mind away, just how different it was and how much better too. I mean, truthfully.
yeah, absolutely. It's really a record that's worth the listen to it, especially if you're a fan of punk or anything that Red Scare puts out is almost guaranteed to be pretty fucking good. Uh,
Yeah, I agree.
there's not too much stuff on there that I don't like, so it's fun and it's also good. Like I look at all the stuff I listen to, and not a lot of it is super new. It's stuff that I've listened to for a long time, which isn't bad, but at the same time, like it's great to hear something new, something different, and something that you can like fall in love with. Being approaching middle age here. When you're young, you got these hopes, these dreams, and you got these records that you listen to, and you go back to listen to it now, and it's like, oh, I remember where I was when I listened to this song or this band, or I can relate to, you just go back to that time, and now like you get this new stuff, and hopefully in 10 years when I throw this on again, I can be like, yeah, I remember, first hearing this at this place. Odds are I was mowing my lawn or or something like that, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, I really enjoy it. So, yeah. Do you have
I
any
could see
final words?
I could see this album being an album for younger people.
Yeah.
This would be their gateway, their starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Just lyrically, just the music. It's so fucking catchy. Sorry for swearing there.
yeah,
So catchy, you
it
know?
is. Yeah, I haven't seen them. I'd like to see them. They're one of the few remaining bands on my bucket list. Um, I've been fortunate enough to see most of the bands that I want to see, and yeah, this band is on that list, and this is one of them that I want to see, and hopefully one day I'll be able to get that opportunity. Um,
Yeah.
they don't tour too much, but I think they're on some sort of tour with Brendan Kelly. I don't know if they're coming to the
Oh,
Midwest or not, but I mean, I've seen Brendan Kelly, and he's always a good time. So good
yeah.
combination, in my opinion. But we can move on to the record that you picked. So this is a record that I can go back way back in the day and have some fond memories of listening to it. And this is the record that introduced me to Off With Their Heads, and that I was actually kind of surprised that you picked this record. Like when you were kind
Yeah.
of picking three, you kind of had three choices, and then you went with this one. I was surprised just to have that on the initial list. So yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
It's From the Bottom by Off With Their Heads, 12 songs in 30 minutes. And I was it was very difficult for me just to pick one album. I was really debating about Circle Jerks Group Sex, which is probably my favorite album of all time,
Yeah.
or else Coxbar's Shock Troops, or this album. And I just so decided to go with this album because I heard it when it came out. What year was that? Let me see here.
It's been a minute.
Uh, yeah, it says 2008. If that's true, that probably is.
Yeah, I would say.
Um, I thought it was 2010. I think that was in Distillation, but my
Yeah.
friend John Petta was the one who actually showed me these dudes off with their heads, and I would always listen to more like 70s, 80s punk and like hardcore and thrash metal, and this was kind of the album that really was kind of a bridge to like more of the modern stuff, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the copyrights, kind of the Midwest whole popular punk scene, I guess.
Yeah.
It was this album, and when I first heard it, it just blew me away. I mean, just lyrically, I love the rawness of it. In Desolation possibly is my favorite Off of Their Heads album.
I would say
I know a
Home
lot of
is
people
mine.
love Home,
Home is mine, yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah, but this the rawness
Yeah.
of this album, I just think is so great.
The first
Um,
song I ever heard from Off With Their Heads and then from the bottom was "Fuck This I'm Out," which is the ninth song on the record, and it was like
Yeah.
you hear it, and then Ryan Young's vocals are just so, like you said, kind of raw. They're just the scratchy. There's this angry tones to it, and it's like, fuck yeah, dude, this is awesome.
Do you recall where you heard it first?
So I think they were actually on tour with Less Than Jake, and they were gonna play at the Rave in Milwaukee, and I had never heard of them. So I wanted to go to the show, and I like checking out the openers, and it's like, so I kind of like to check them out before I go to the show, because if I end up really liking them, I was like, all right, I can know some of the songs that they're gonna play. So I just YouTubed it, and then I saw that they made like a music video for that song, and I listened to it, and I was like, dude, this is really good. And then like Keep Falling Down, I heard that, and I think that's my favorite song on that album. But
Really?
yeah. And then I was like, it was awesome. I didn't go to the show, unfortunately. But I did. The first time I ever saw Off Their Heads was at the Congress Theater in Chicago. They opened for Against Me and Dropkick Murphys, which is it was cool. And that was like,
that's a unique lineup itself, right there.
It was, and they had some other band too play. I don't remember who it was, but I was really excited to see them. And then I had never heard Drive, so the first time I saw them was probably, I think, In Desolation had just come out, so it was a couple of years till after I heard that song. And then I was hooked. I heard them play Drive live, and I didn't know what the name of the song was, but I was like, this song's fucking awesome. That's probably like my all-time favorite Off Their Heads album. And then finally I just went to the Exclusive Company. That place doesn't exist anymore. And then got it was interesting because I went to the one in West Bend, and I said, hey, do you have anything from Off Their Heads? And they're like, oh, what's genre? And I was like, oh, it's punk. And they're like, are you sure it's not metal? It sounds like a metal name. And I was like, it's a punk band. They didn't have it. So I went to the one in a different city, asked again. They're like, yeah, we have it. They went to the punk section. It wasn't there, but it was in the metal section, which I thought was...
That's weird.
I thought it was weird, but yeah. So I mean, keep talking.
I have a similar story with that. Actually, I went to the West Bend previous Exclusive Company earlier today.
Oh, really?
I can't think of what it's called now, but when I was a kid, I went there asking for Sick of It All, the West Bend Exclusive Company, and the person working told me there was no such band. And I literally just told that story a few hours ago to my friend Drew, a different Drew, who used to live in West Bend, who now lives in Moscow, Utah. But yeah,
that's interesting.
It's just ironic that I would like to think it was the same person that told you that.
Probably was.
I hope so.
But so I mean, From the Bottom is a fucking such a good album, and it opens with what's the song?
I Am You.
I Am You. That's what I thought it was, and it's you kind of get what you kind of know what you're gonna get when you listen to that song. Like it's serious. It's kind of sad. The record's kind of sad, but could you like connect with it in that regard?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I like to walk. I like to go for walks. And I just remember listening to this whole album for the first time, then getting to the last song, I Hope You Know.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, holy shit, like this is power, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good record, and it's fun. And I've seen Off Their Heads probably like 4 or 5 times now. It's been a while since I have seen them. I haven't seen them. I saw them when they released Home a couple times, and I've never seen them play anything off of Be Good or anything like that. But
I think I saw them 20 times between like 2010 and 2020.
That's awesome.
And I've seen them so many times that I saw them last year, and it just literally doesn't do anything for me anymore. And I still love their studio albums.
Yeah.
It's just I've seen them too many times.
Yeah.
Because they play around here so often, and then
they're from.
Now I live in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
They're from Minnesota. Ryan's
Correct.
from Minnesota. I think he lives in Chicago now. He's got a podcast. I think it's still going on. Anxious and Angry. Owns his little record store online. I shouldn't say little, but it's a big operation. Does printing, does all the stuff. Like he's a busy person. And then yeah, they're on a tour right now. But I mean,
And they are playing in Green Bay soon too. They're doing the
are they?
whole home album.
Oh really? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I'll check that out. But
you'd have to look it up.
yeah, I mean, really, like with this, with From the Bottom too, I listened to it the first time during a time where I was not great, like, and I had just gotten out of my first like real big relationship with my daughter's mom, and it was really hard for me to really just understand like the emotions, to really understand how I was feeling. I was pissed off, I was angry, I was sad. There's just a lot going on, and you're trying to balance all this stuff going on with life. I just moved out of and got my own apartment. I was like 19 years old, 18 or 19 years old, and you're just going through all this stuff, and then I hear this record, and I was just like, oh yeah, I can relate to this and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's just it's a record that I have really grown to appreciate because it just it brings me back to those times where maybe it wasn't the best, but now I can look back at it and be like, you know what, I'm fortunate to have had these experiences because I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So I can always go back and like I oddly enough, before you even picked this record, I had just started listening to it again. I was like, oh, I haven't listened to this in quite some time, and I go back to it and I was just like, yeah, this is it's good, and it's I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. I would say like the songs blend well, the transition well. For the most part, they have a similar feel, a similar sound. Like they're pretty heavy power chords, and but they have pretty good harmonies.
they do.
Which is
And
difficult
the bass
to do.
tone too.
Yeah,
I think the bass tone on this album particularly is just so good, strong.
yeah, absolutely, and it's there's Off of Their Heads is good shit. I do love them, and for a long time they were my favorite band again because it's like they're guiding me. They're creating the soundtrack of my life and the situation I was in, and I was just like, yes, I can listen to this, feel better about myself, go about my day, go work at the job I hate, go to school, hang out with my kid, and then hopefully one day everything will, be okay. I mean, I don't know. It's a good way to blow some steam off, just listening to music that you can relate to, and it's good to know that
Exactly.
other people feel the same way. I don't know if you've ever been. When have you been really sad, Joel? Let's dive. No.
Often I do have a radio show called High Anxiety, so that answers it right there.
yeah, that's
Although I do try to be a positive person, like just throughout my life, but yeah,
it's
I do.
Yeah, I completely understand it. Thankfully my anxiety is not as horrible as it once was, which is great.
Yeah, that's the key, is to keep getting better and just overcome it.
Yeah, and I think if you listen to like the progression of Off With Their Heads, I'd like to think he's in a better mindset. I'm sure there's a lot of sadness and there's still a lot of stuff going on that you have to battle every day, but we kind of all do. But overall, like when you listen to some of the other songs, it's a little more hopeful.
Yeah, I totally agree. Compared to this album, to their more recent stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
You can just see probably right around the home album is kind of like maybe even In Desolation, but
yeah,
the one after this album. But yeah, lyrically, it's not as doom and gloom, you could say.
Yeah. And I appreciate the doom and gloom music. It's
I do too.
A lot of people, and I don't know if I'm gonna be thrown in punk rock jail for this or not, but like the emo scene and the punk scene, if you really listen to it, like the words, what they're saying, not always so far apart.
No, not at all. I mean, my limited knowledge of emo, which is pretty much non-existent, but yes, it's still pretty damn close.
Yeah,
I would say it's
just different ways of coping with the situations. Perhaps
exactly.
I would rather drink beer than some of the alternatives.
Exactly.
I guess.
I Me too. That's why I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was your favorite song on that No Trigger album? Did you?
I would say currently when I listen to it, I think I don't know. I would say Too High to Die, just because it's one, it's got awesome backing vocals, and it's just like it's just a it's just a fun song. It's and you know it's pretty funny at times. I also really like I like Brainwashed because I think
I love.
people can really like relate to that, even you and I, and you know that not everything we learn in school is relatable to what we need to know. Yeah, and then it's about being like shedding maybe your upbringing and thinking for yourself. And I think a lot of
Yeah,
people need to hear that and be like, yeah, that's right. I just because my family believes this or does this doesn't necessarily mean I have to. And it's okay to think differently and to think outside the box and to experience different things that some people might, poo poo, but it's important that I really I do like that song a lot. I've started to really like Water by the Beer Can. That's like now slowly it's like the more I listen to it, the more like the later songs now become my favorite ones. But it's kind of a hard choice. No Tattoos is really fun too. Even though I have a bunch
yeah,
of tattoos, it's just like a banger, and I really
yeah.
I really love it. And I don't the singer actually does not have any tattoos from my understanding. He's the only one that doesn't. So
Do Okay, I was gonna say there's five people in the band, right? I
there's
think
like five or six, I think.
five or six. Yeah,
They got it's a pretty big band. Yeah, it looks like yeah, there's six dudes. So they must have
six.
maybe three guitars. I don't know.
They must. A
Yeah,
keyboardist, obviously. I would assume
perhaps.
that's
Yeah,
pretty crazy for like a punk band to have that many people. Like,
yeah. You don't really see the three guitar setup frequently.
no, Bad Religion.
Yeah, they do. Do they? I think they're down to two now
They're probably down to,
because
yeah.
they.
I think I've seen them with three. That's why I was thinking
Oh,
that.
the
But
one dude got the bald guy who's also in Circle
um,
Jerks.
yeah,
Greg.
Greg Henson
Yeah, he got booted, I guess,
kicked out years ago. Yeah,
which sucks because I like that guy
me too.
and he's good.
Circle Jerks are one of my favorite bands. Like,
I've never seen the Circle Jerks. I'd like to. They don't really play much. I don't think. Do they?
they were on a reunion tour. I saw them. Oh shit! Sorry,
It's
my
all right.
camera.
It's all good.
Um, Sorry. Recliner. I decided to unrecline. I saw them three times last. I saw them at Punk Rock Bowling
Okay.
in Vegas, then Chicago and New York last year.
Oh, that's crazy.
They were on a reunion tour. Every single set was exactly the same,
Oh, really?
but it's still like they're one of my all-time favorite bands. My brother played them for me when I was in like fifth grade,
That's awesome.
and then it just connected with me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I would definitely go see them. I'm not probably nearly as versed as you are. I've listened to Group Sex, and I've listened. I don't know. That's the one with Operation
Wild
on
in the
it,
Streets, man.
right? Operations
Oh,
on Group
yeah, that's
Sex.
Group Sex.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that song's pretty funny. But yeah, I would definitely see them if I could. I don't get to. I want to go to punk rock bowling one day. I want to go to Fest one day. It just has never happened. Maybe someday.
it's yeah. Hopefully, you still have plenty of life left where you can.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Hopefully, we all do.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, so two great albums that everybody should check out. No Trigger, Doctor album. I would say if you're gonna go into the No Trigger discography or rabbit hole, start with Doctor album. And if you love Doctor
Okay.
album and can appreciate it, then you can listen to their other stuff, because Doctor album is something special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I hopefully the band would agree with me. Hopefully, if they ever listen to this, they don't say this guy is a fucking idiot. But I hope not. But yeah, it's so good.
I think after a few more listens, I'm just gonna love that album because every time I listen to it, I'm just like, it's good lyrically. Just the harmonies, as you mentioned before, it's just a great album, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely give it the once through, and then start it over, and just like, or maybe like take a break from and then the next day listen to it again, because I do agree. The first time I listened to it all the way through, I was just like, this is different for this band. I like a lot of it, and I just don't know how to feel. So then I went back to it, and like, yeah, I just fell in love with it. And then of course, From the Bottom, from Off of Their Heads, that's a good record. I think if you want to listen to Off of Their Heads, that's really, Hospitals is probably the best place to start from the beginning. Which is,
start with Hospitals and work your way up. You can just see how the band changes over time.
Yeah, the progression of
like
that
No
band
Trigger,
has been
too.
awesome. Yeah, exactly. The progression of Off of Their Heads is pretty awesome and pretty amazing. Like, you can just see how they've like changed as people, changed as musicians, songwriters. It's awesome. And that's kind of the thing too that I think has shifted recently. But back in the day with like all the punk stuff, it was like, oh, we want more of the same. We want more reinventing Axl Rose. We want this. And it's like, and if a band took chances, they'd be like, oh, these fuckers are sellouts, or all these people suck, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, no, you have these great records. Like, why do I need a second From the Bottom? Let's keep that, and let's honor it for what it is, and let them do something else. Let them progress in their sound and everything like that. And I think maybe No Trigger had that feeling too. Like, hey, we've done like this. We've done some really good stuff. Let's change it up. Let's try something new and be loose with maybe the format or something like that, and see what happens. And in their regard, it turned out pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So
I'm a sober person altogether, but I would just love to know what they were using through this record.
I think
Because
they were like
like
microdosing.
hallucinative?
I think they were microdosing LSD.
LSD.
From the interviews that I've read on it, and I have no idea what that's like.
Neither do I.
Nor do I think I ever will. Which is fine. But thankfully they did it, because it produced a pretty awesome record. And I don't think they were like, I don't think it was like the Beatles, John Lennon on that one really weird ass record where they're just like, whoa. Like, I think, I think they were just,
or the Doors or something.
Yeah. I hate the Doors. Is that bad?
I like a couple songs.
I hate
Break
LA
On
Woman.
Through is a great song. That could be a punk song.
Yeah.
If it's just a...
LA Woman is the worst song I've ever heard in my life, and I fucking hate it.
I could definitely think of worse, but I agree. It's not that.
it's just...
It's nothing I would choose to listen to.
No, one time I was DJing a wedding, and I got the last song, we played it, and I was like, all right, we're done. It was like a 2-hour drive home for me, too. So I had to tear down, load up, drive home. But no, the groom's dad is like, oh, can you play LA Woman? I'm like, nah, man, we're done. We're done. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's time to clock out. And he's just like, I'm the fucking groom's father. You're not going to play this for me. And I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, what song? He's like, LA Woman. And I never had listened to it before. I click and drag it. I'm like, dude, this is 8 minutes. Like, I don't have 8 minutes. And I played it, and then it's him and his brother. They're just drunkenly yapping the fucking songs, and that's probably why I really hate it. But I was just like, this is fucking stupid. and I just stood there. Everyone else is leaving, and then these two dickwads are just.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was horrible.
Billy Idol covers that song.
Does he really?
Yeah, I don't. I assume it's not good. I just remember he did. I haven't heard it in a long time.
Yeah. There's, but if it would have been a No Trigger song, I'd be like, yeah, I'll play that.
Yeah, well, it's also not 8 minutes long either,
Thankfully.
and it's not redundant where it's the same thing over and over and over.
It's horrible. But Joel, let's well, first of all, thank you again for hopping on the show. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you for having me on twice. High Anxiety Radio. You want to talk about that a little bit? Where can people listen to it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so High Anxiety Radio is mostly a punk show. I host it. I try to get guests on as often as I can, but sometimes it's just me playing music.
Yeah.
It's not just punk music anymore. Like, that's my favorite type of music, but it's also kind of like, once I named it that, it just kind of pigeonholes it.
Yeah.
So I just play other types of music, but mostly punk, hardcore, thrash metal, just several different. Every show should be different. Like I just play everything I like, which is just a wide variety of music.
Yeah.
Mostly punk once again.
You should do well, I mean, like that's punk rock in general. Like punk is not following a format or a rule. If you like a song, you fucking play it. That's what you do.
Exactly.
You should try to do an all ska episode.
I will. You want to be my guest host on that?
Yeah. I'm not that well versed on ska, but I do really like it.
I like certain bands, and certain bands I really dislike quite a bit. I'm not going to mention who.
Yeah.
I recently did an all hip hop show with my friend.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, we got together and we did a thrash metal show, and then the next week we played an all hip hop show.
That's awesome.
Which, in my opinion, there's a lot of similarities between hip hop and punk. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Lyrically, social views.
Yeah,
like all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, High Anxiety is on Wednesday nights on Code Zero Radio, and it's mostly a Wisconsin-based radio show where they play everything, but it's more focused on Wisconsin bands.
Yeah,
which is generally not a punk station, but my show is.
Yeah,
and that's on Wednesday nights at 7:00 Central Time. But I usually put up the shows on demand on the app. Usually Monday or Tuesdays,
nice.
A day or two ahead.
Awesome.
I used to record them live, but now with my schedule, I can't.
Yeah, that's a lot of work too, to record them live. It's
yeah,
especially like, I mean, you play a good amount of music, so it's yeah, that takes some time. That's like old school radio stuff. Like nowadays, like how you do it now, where it's all kind of like, pre-recorded or whatever. That's really how radio works these days. 99% outside of like morning shows are pre-recorded, which is crazy, but it's still good. It's still good that you do it. It's awesome that you do it. Because you play a lot of good stuff, and if you're a fan of the records that we just talked about, and you've never really dove into the world of punk, listen to those records, and then check out High Anxiety Radio on the Code Zero app. Anyone can download it.
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is the following week after this airs, after my show, I'll play both of these albums too.
Hell yeah.
Before or after, I'll announce it. That way people, if they decide to, without seeking them out, they can just tune in and check them out. Hopefully they'll like them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will.
And then drop Drew a line, which album you like better.
Yeah. We won't be offended. I love both of them. So
yeah, but I do too.
Yeah.
And I am going to keep listening to that No Trigger album because I can foresee that being like a solid album I'll be listening to a lot.
Yeah, it is really good. I'm a big fan of their other. They have another record called Tycoon, which is really good, and then their EP Adult Braces is also really fucking good. All their stuff is pretty damn awesome. So I definitely I think they're from like Massachusetts area. So hopefully one day,
Yeah.
hopefully they can get to like X-Ray or something like that. That would be pretty killer. And I would definitely
Yeah.
be at that show. So they could even tour with Off Their Heads. It would be a pretty good
But yeah.
combination. That'd be a good show. So maybe we can pioneer that. I don't know how,
Yeah.
but
Maybe
maybe we
maybe there'll
could.
be another Gummer Fest or something, and they'll
I
be
hope
playing. Who knows?
that would be awesome. I hope they get back to doing those in the summer. But Joel, thanks for hopping on the show. Follow Joel, listen to his show. You can find the information of his stuff on the show notes. And yeah, that's it. Oh, I drank this Potosi beer, Tangerine IPA. It's delicious. It's tasty. I don't think they'd really distribute outside of the Wisconsin area. So if you happen to be rolling through Wisconsin, seek out the Tangerine IPA. I don't think you'll regret it. It's good shit.
Have you had anything else from that brewery?
Yes, we've had on their show. I think it's called Shot Tower, which is like a coffee stout. Also very good.
Okay.
I'd like to get down there sometime. I think that would be pretty cool, but it seems like it's a long drive. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool idea. A brewery that doesn't work on profits, that donates the profits to charity. That's pretty unique, pretty special, and pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. It truly is. I know we're winding up here, but as a person who doesn't drink, the amount of non-alcohol beers since COVID has just skyrocketed. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like there's so many breweries that are making them now.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them, like I've had just like my friend drinks the Heineken Zero, and that's actually better than Heineken itself, in my opinion.
I don't know.
It's just weird.
I don't know the last time I had a Heineken was, but yeah, there's a ton of NA options. So you can still get if you like the taste of beer, but you don't like obviously the alcohol side of it. If it just isn't your thing, you can always go with an NA option. A lot of craft breweries and stuff like that do that. So it's I don't know if they have any NA options, but I would imagine they have at least one.
I'm sure.
Sure.
Last year, and I don't know if that happened at the beginning of this year, but January of 2022, there was a bar in Milwaukee that was doing a NA beer fest.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's getting that, there are that many different options out there now. And I imagine they're just going to keep growing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did see something like that too at a local place in town here that was doing like a special like kind of like flights of beer tasting, and they had a whole NA flight as well. So you can be a part of the fun, you can enjoy the atmosphere, you can enjoy the environment, and then you can you don't have to worry about driving home or not driving home or walking home or something like that, or taking a cab. You don't have to worry about saying something dumb or acting like a fool. So NA is a good option.
Or drinking until 8 a.m.
Right.
Like I unfortunately have.
I don't know that I've gone that far, but yeah, I can't drink. I can't indulge too much these days. I'll have one or two and then that's it for me, because I'm too old to feel like shit the next day. I don't like it. So Joel, thanks again. I look forward to the next time we can chat and talk more punk rock.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Drew. I really appreciate it.